We have a Super Bowl champion, a member of Washington's Ring of Fame. He also was a multi-time Pro Bowler, and he's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame as well. Joining us, former Washington quarterback Joe Theismann here on the show. Joe, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, D.A., and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. And last night, watching the Patriots lose like that to the Titans, what were your emotions? What was your nostalgia like watching Brady, perhaps towards the end or at the end of his Patriots run?
Well, we know he's towards the end because I don't think he's going to play to 45. But I think that I don't think Tom lost anything. The one play that Julian dropped on that first down, I fully expected New England to drive down, kick a field goal, and win the game. Just like we did in the last Super Bowl that they lost, we expected them to, against Philadelphia, we expected them to drive down and create some type of a winning opportunity. It's just what you expect out of the New England Patriots and Tom, but it didn't happen. What became so obvious to me about New England's offense more than Tom, I think Tom is Tom. He throws the ball well, gets the ball down the field, makes good decisions, does all those things. That hasn't changed. They don't have a tight end, and they aren't able to work the middle of the football field, and that has been their Achilles heel all year long. You look around the league and you see the value of the tight end position at the teams that are in the playoffs, how important they are to being able to control the safeties, to be able to throw the ball in the middle of the football field. New England became an outside-the-numbers passing team, and that is never who they've ever been. And so it was a different kind of a year, a different kind of an offense, and they still managed to get pretty darn close.
If you've got to pay Tom Brady next year, is there the money to afford? Are you able to retool an offense around him with those types of weapons that he would need at this age?
I think number one, they're going to focus on finding somebody for the middle of the football field. I think you can do it. Tom's never been one to hold up the New England Patriots. I mean, he's the 42nd, I believe, highest paid player in the National Football League, the 16th quarterback. So, I mean, he's not looking for $40 million or $35 million or $30 million. I can see the Patriots offering him a 2-year deal somewhere in the high teens, low 20s, which would be another $40 million. And then you still have the opportunity to go and look for who the next person's going to be, because that's the big question, D.A. You start looking in San Diego. You start looking in New England. Who is going to be the heir apparent to the position? That looms very large, I think, in those two places, in particular in New England. But I can't see Tom at the age of 42, 43, going to another football team, learning another system, even if Josh McDaniels leaves. I just can't see him leaving New England and going someplace else. Now, others have done it. Namath did it. Montana did it. Favre went to a number of stops. But I just can't see Tom not finishing and being a New England Patriot. I just can't see him wearing another uniform at this stage of his career.
Joe Theismann joins us this morning here on CBS Sports Radio. Of course, the end of your career was cut short because of injury, but if it was not and Joe Gibbs wanted to go to somebody else, would you have wanted to leave and to play somewhere else at the end?
Oh, sure. If I was able to play, I would have loved to continue to play. I think everybody does. This is going to sound crazy, but I was always fascinated by the Raiders. It was the Raiders, and I'd had conversations with Mr. Davis after I left football, and I'd still throw the ball. I was throwing scout team drills at the age of 50 for people around the league. I just love football. I just love the game. I guess I'm the player's version of Pete Carroll. I had a chance to be around Pete, and you still see him out throwing the ball around. He has the same youthful enthusiasm that he's always had, and that's the way I felt about the game. I love the game of football, and I would have liked to have been able to play, and probably would have been a bit like maybe Jerry Rice, where you had to have somebody like Mike Homer and a friend say, look, it's time. Not that he would have listened, but somebody would have said, it's time. But it's a different era. It's a different type of football. It really would be wrong for Tom to put on another uniform in my mind.
I really like this. What if I had never heard that story that you had conversation with Al Davis after your Washington days? So how close was it? How do you think it could have played out?
Well, yeah, because of the injury, because I really, I'd been away from the game, but I started broadcasting at CBS in '86 and '87, and then I wanted to try and come back. I could still do certain things, but I wasn't near the player I was. It was more of a dream, a fantasy. But, Mr. Davis was always great to have a conversation with. He used to tell me, he said, Joe, I've got high school film on you. I thought, wow, the man just went. I mean, he would leave no stone unturned, DA. I'll tell you something. And, that's why the Raiders for so long were who they were. It was, and I guess you envision yourself as sort of the rebel a little bit. All those guys in high school, back when I was in high school, okay, there were guys that used to roll up, cigarette packs in their sleeves and used to hang out at the pool hall. And, you wanted to be one of them. And to me, those were the Raiders. Those were the guys that had the cigarette packs rolled up in their sleeves, and they were the ones that were going to challenge the establishment a little bit. And they were the ones that, seemed to have all the chicks. It's like, okay, why not be a little bit of a rebel? I think we all have a little bit of that in us. Sometimes people play it out a little more than they do.
So the Oakland Raiders were a pack of greasers at South River High School, huh?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to describe it, yeah. Affectionately greasers.
Yes, right. Exactly right. Let me ask you about in Washington, Ron Rivera stepping in here. Are you optimistic that the problems that have plagued the organization in terms of consistency and accountability can be solved with Rivera at the helm?
I think so. I think there's just a sense of hope and optimism, basically. Ron's been there. Jack Del Rio's been there. Those are the two guys that are set now. Now the coaches are in the process of going out and hiring assistants. I think who is the offensive coordinator is going to be very critical to the development of Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin and, Kelvin Harmon and, possibly Darius Geis if he can stay on a football field. We have a lot of very young talent on this football team. And I think there's optimism in that regard. There's optimism where we're going to draft this year. Unfortunately, we're drafting two. It's a shame that we have to, but it's also going to give us a football player who can be, I believe, an impact player. And if Chase Young is there, I believe he's the one that we want as a football team. I don't know anything. I haven't talked to scouts, owners, anybody. I just think that from a defensive end position, he can make a difference.
Finally, really cool to talk to you on the 100th season of the NFL, and we've been watching the NFL unveil its 100th century team, and your former head coach, Joe Gibbs, one of the coaches, and that is a very finite group, one of the most incredible groups ever in any coach's fraternity, and Joe Gibbs joining some of the legends. What is it like to watch Joe Gibbs be remembered with guys like Vince Lombardi and Chuck Noll and George Halas and those legends, immortals of the game?
I think it's fitting that Joe is spoken of and regarded that way. I had the privilege of playing for him longer than any quarterback he had. I had the privilege to be able to be his first quarterback, had the privilege to experience Super Bowls with him. The man is just an incredible football coach, but he is equally as incredible a human being. And to see him honored in such a way, to me, is it just makes you feel good that I had a chance to see it firsthand, but that everybody is acknowledging his greatness. Because, you're talking about the pillars of the National Football League when you talk about the coaches and the company that he is in and people that we've admired. And I love the history of our game. I mean, just think of the last three football games we've seen. The Seattle-San Francisco game and these two playoff games yesterday. Those are three of the greatest games we've ever seen. The Seattle-San Francisco game finished the 100th season as far as the regular season goes. And then you look at the two playoff games yesterday and probably expect some good ones again today to kick off the next 100 years. So, but it's such a wonderful thing to see Joe thought about by so many the way I always thought about him.
Well said. Joe Theismann joining us this morning on the show, Super Bowl champion, former MVP in the NFL, as well as we celebrate 100 years of the league here on Sunday Morning Football, member of Washington's Ring of Fame and a College Football Hall of Famer. Joe, it's always really fun to catch up and do some memory lane stuff around the NFL, man. Thanks so much for doing it, and enjoy football today. We'll talk again soon.
You too, D.A. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Joe Theismann joining us this morning here on the show.